Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We are going to move on with this week's theme of deep cuts, checking out songs that are not the popular ones from major groups, bands, artists, and the like. Today we're going to be checking out a song called Heart's a Mess by Gotye. And I didn't quite recognize the name, but I found out this is the person who created Someone I Used to Know, which is an extremely popular track and kind of, as far as I know, a one-hit wonder. I can't think of any other song that Gotye's made, so it's really exciting to check out another one from this artist. Let's dive into it and see what's going on.
Pick apart the pieces of your heart. Let me peer inside. Let me in where only your thoughts have been. Let me occupy your mind.
A little bit of syncopation there against that drum beat.
As you do mine.
The richness of this production is phenomenal. Yeah, so we have a verse 2 here, wider production, more layers, doubling up of the vocals.
Don't get burned. It makes it easier. That much more difficult for me to make you see.
I honestly thought we were going to get a bit bigger there with the silence, but instead we're just bringing this idea back. Yeah, it's all the ambient textures. Okay, the intro guitar with a new string line as an introductory or as a transition idea. Interesting. Oh man, the panning. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, put a little bit of grit in there. Reverb on that drum right there, and the dynamic elements in it. Yes, not just in the syncopation, but in the volume and accentuation of the strikes.
Your heart's a
A
mess.
variation on this acoustic guitar line.
You won't admit to it. It makes no sense, but I'm desperate to connect. And you can't live like this.
Bring it back.
Your heart's a mess. You won't admit to it. It makes no sense, but I'm desperate to connect. You can't live like this.
Ooh.
Love ain't safe, you won't get hurt. You stay chased so you can wait. I don't wanna waste my love.
And allow the resonance to finish that out. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So I don't know if I like Someone I Used to Know just because it's so at the time. I mean, what was this? Early 2010s, right? Mid 2010s maybe. It was everywhere, right? You couldn't go to a department store or a mall or leave the radio on any channel. It felt like without hearing this song. Commercials and TV shows were using it, especially in like dramas, and it was just man, it was everywhere. So it became very oversaturated for me, and I got to a point where I just didn't want to hear it anymore. And I don't know if that was because of hearing it everywhere or not, but this song, at least I feel like from what I remember of Someone I Used to Know, shows a very different side of Gotye. One that I really enjoy. There's a lot of attention to detail here that kind of makes me want to put this. I mean, I can see why, if a lot of his stuff is like this, that he was a one hit wonder because I don't see many songs like this topping the charts. It's not difficult to listen to. It's very palatable. I'd say it still has that easy listening, you can just kind of chill with it kind of vibe that mainstream pop is known for, but it also feels busy in ways that requests you to engage with the work, right? And what I mean by that is, so pop production is busy. I feel like it's getting busier and busier. It's still simple to digest, but there's more and more and more layers being applied to pop music these days. It's just the layers tend to be a bit more hidden, right? They're more subdued. They're on the micro level. It might be, five, six vocal layers, or it might be a small sound that's pushed way out to the sides or, further into the background. So it's not necessarily heard by everybody, but it helps the section do what it needs to do. This, though, all of the layers are intricately woven into the song and are very specific aspects of it. Now, this could just be one of his more subtle, one of his more busier yet subtle tracks, because it's still chill, right? The whole vibe's real chill. There isn't a big part to it. I mean, the chorus kind of gets big, but it's still withheld, right? So it's very possible that this is a song that would never end up being a single. Wait, no, this had a music video. I was told not to watch the music video because it was edited. Um, which, I mean, what would you pull out of this, right? I feel like the song was already so short that I can't imagine cutting it, cutting anything out of it. I was kind of hoping it would be in the suggested songs so that I could just see a time for it, but I mean, there's just no way that you could subtract anything out of this and have it still have impact. Oh wait, there it is. 440. They cut a whole minute and a half out of this. They ripped a quarter of the song out. Why? What is the purpose of that? Anyways, now that that's behind me. So this is a song that is a single, but I don't see this being a big single. Like sometimes pop songs have or pop artists have ballads, but the ballads aren't ever the chart toppers. Um, but it does make me wonder what is the more traditional side of Gotye, whether it's something like this that is a bit more engaging, or something like someone I used to know that is easier to listen to and would be more palatable for a mainstream audience. I don't know. Those are just some initial thoughts coming off of this though, because this is not what I was expecting from Gotye. And there's a lot of emotion packed in here too. So, I mean, the first thing we have to talk about, obviously, is the layering, the instrumentation. And it's a really interesting way that he goes about creating this track because it is for the most part, a single idea song. I think you could make a case that the chorus, the two times it pops up, is its own unique section. Maybe. I'm trying to remember. I still think that there's some elements that exist throughout the entire track. Like every part of the song is the same foundational element. It's just what layers are we putting on top of it to differentiate it from other parts. But what's interesting about these other layers is that they're not ideas that are malleable. They are very set in stone. When that string swell comes up, it swells across the same notes, it swells at the same speed, and it's always left panned. It is a static idea in the song. It's not so much of placing it in the song as much as pushing, like a button to start a sample, right? And it is geared to left pan 100% and it does its thing. It is a static sample, and that's, well, I don't know if I should call them samples because something tells me that Gotye made all these, or his producer. I don't know. Oh, three people wrote this. None of them are named Gotye. Is Gotye a group? Or did he have songwriters to help him with this? Which would kind of make sense. A lot of pop music has songwriters that work with the singers, but I don't get that vibe with this. I don't know. Anyways, man, where was I going with that? Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Producers and making sounds. I don't know if I can call them samples because it kind of implies that it's a sound that they got from something else, but I'm gonna go with samples because that's the best term I've got for it. Someone give me a better term if I'm wrong here. Um, so yeah, it's basically a sample. You turn on, everything seems to be a sample that's engaged and lets it run its full course. The course is always identical, right? That swell is always four bars, 2 bars maybe. 8 beats long though. Every time it's the same thing. You hit start, it goes through until it stops. The guitar part, the drums, Yeah, the drums too. The string, the melodic string, the triangle chime. Nothing is really malleable. Nothing is configurable or modifiable. It is what it is, and it has its placement, its duration, and its sound, right? And I think it's a really interesting way to go about making the music because it forces you to think about not just rhythmically how your ideas are going to line up or melodically, harmonically how they're going to line up, but it also forces you to think spatially, right? If you have two ideas that are left panned, can you play them together? And some of this might also bleed into the creation process. If these two ideas don't work together, why and fix them, right? Maybe it's because they're both lead elements in the left pan, so now one gets pushed to the right or one gets pushed to center or something like that, so it can provide some space to it. It probably was a little bit of back and forth because you make the sounds, then you put them together in the song, they don't really work, so you modify them. But once the song is set, it isn't like you could do the string swell on the left and then move it to the right. Like, it is what it is, and it's just a really interesting way to go about it because it feels like building blocks. He made a song with Legos, but he made the Legos, right? A red 2x4 Lego is going to be a red 2x4 no matter what. I mean, I suppose you could you could cut it. You can slice through it and shorten it, but that's not a typical way people engage with Lego bricks. So, I mean, it's a really interesting way of going about doing this. You make the building blocks, and then all you can do is place the blocks. You can't modify how the blocks work or where they work best. They do what they do, and if you include it, it's going to do what it does. And so it takes a little bit of creativity away from the songwriter and put some restrict well no not it takes flexibility away from the songwriter, not creativity. It takes flexibility away, which any sort of restriction is going to breed creativity. And I think that's one of the things that might have gone into this direction. I mean, this could also just be Gotye's style of making samples first and then just activating them, but the samples aren't techno sounds or electronic elements or anything like that. It's still all acoustic instruments. Yeah, I think everything in here is acoustic. So there isn't an element of, um, making up sounds from scratch. Maybe, he plays the guitar for a little bit, records it, and now that's a guitar sample, right? Maybe he pans it to the right a little bit and calls it a day. When he activates it, that's what plays. It plays panned right, and it does what it does. Nothing more. He can loop it as many times as he wants, but it's not going to change. It's a static element of the song. And yeah, it's a really cool way to go about making a song. You don't make it up as you go, you make up the blocks beforehand and learn how best they fit together to build what you want to. Yeah, I mean, I picked all this up when listening to it, but just saying it out loud and contextualizing what exactly this process is and thinking about it on my own and being like, maybe I should give this a shot. How would I go about doing this? Is really interesting. And I think I am going to have to try this. I don't know how well I'm going to execute it on a first try because, like I said, there's a lot of pre-planning that goes into it, but I'm sure there's a lot of tweaking that goes into once you're in the building block stage and you realize some of your blocks don't fit so well and you got to modify them retroactively. But it does sound like a fun experiment. Maybe we'll do it for the comp jam. Yeah, I'll pass that idea around in the Discord because I got to come up with a theme by next Friday, and that sounds like a good one. See if anybody else is interested in that idea. All right, anyways, moving on because I think we've covered that topic. I still find it fascinating. Um, so we approach the structure item, and I think it's important to lay down how the structure is made, these building blocks before we get into this, because the song doesn't follow a traditional structure. We could certainly say he comes in with a verse, he repeats the verse with a extra embellishment to it. He hits a chorus, we hit a bridge, we hit a chorus, and we're done with the song, right? And that's not wrong. We could say it has an AABCB pattern, and that would be accurate. But I think that would only focus on general ideas and lyrics, right? That structure works when you look at the song from top down. But when you actually look at each section, there is no repetition. We see a continuous building of ideas. The verse has a specific foundation to it, right? So like every song has the foundation. There is a core part that sits on the bottom of the track. I'm pretty sure it's the drums and the guitar. I think the acoustic guitar. I think those two things are active and present from every section except the bridge when we get a variation on the drums. But what we pair with that, what we put on top of it, the verse is different from the chorus. So if we separate these two out, so we have verse and we have chorus, we take the verse and we have the baseline verse foundation. So we have the song's foundation and then we have the verse's foundation. And I don't remember what the verse's foundation was in particular. But the cool thing is that we added the vocals on top of it. And then we added some other ideas, like I think the triangle sound came in here as well. And then that was it. Then we kind of brought it back down to just the foundation, and we introduced some chorus ideas without actually bringing in the chorus lyrics yet. And part of this was the swelling strings and the lead violin and that panning. Nope, that was a bad impersonation of it. It sounded more like a rain stick. But like a rain stick and a boom tube combined together. So it had like that big attack, but it also had like the sizzle of a rain stick. Maybe I'm remembering the sound wrong because this sounds very difficult. I mean, it could have been multiple instruments, but it was these attacks, and it sort of panned right as the attacks reverberated. So we had a really strong one, and then a lighter one, and then a lighter one, and then a quieter one. And it was maybe there wasn't a rain stick element to it. Maybe it was just like that attack, but it was like, I don't remember, man. There's a lot of samples going on in here, okay? Bear with me. I'm trying to remember it all. I'm already 15 minutes away from having the song finished, so I'm trying to retain my memory here. So yeah, we started to introduce these new ideas, and then we fade them out. And we go back to the verse, but this time we start with the stuff we've already slowly introduced. So we have the triangle already in this part, and we have the vocals come back, but now we have a second set of vocals, and now we have another instrument over here, and we have a different instrument over here, and we're slowly layering up again, but from a new foundational point. Our foundation point is where we left off last time. When we come out of this section, we move into the chorus. The second time we've heard this section, we have the strings and the violin and that percussive panning thing, but then we also bring in the vocals on top of this. And we bring in another idea and another idea. And there's so many little tiny things that maybe it's just one hit and it's gone that, I've forgotten. Maybe I didn't even notice it when it happened. It would be more of a second or third listen where I really heard and remembered everything that happened. But it's really cool how we take this foundational baseline, the foundational line of instruments, the drums and the guitar, that exists everywhere. But then we slowly stack up a piece here, and then we stack up a piece here, and then we stack up some pieces here, then we stack up some pieces here, and then by the end of the song, I don't think we revisit the verse. We come back to the chorus and we add even more to it. This time using some of the stuff from the verse in it. And it's a really interesting idea of basically being a slow burn that's segmented. First we'll slow burn this part, then we'll slow burn this part, then we'll slow burn the first part again, we'll come back to the second part. And we're slowly adding layers, no different than we would in a slow burn. But we're staggering when we add to it. So in effect, we are still seeing, like I said, this verse chorus idea, but each time we return to a section, it's different than the last time. It's a variation on it, right? Because where we left it off with the amount of layers we had is now the baseline. We are now adding on top of that. So the second time we hear the verse, the second time we hear the chorus, it has more context to it than the last time, and we are continuing to add more layers of context to it. And it ends up feeling different. The vibe changes throughout. Where we start off with something that's rather simple and somber, we might grow into something more bombastic, or something a bit more louder, or something a bit more somber, something a bit more brighter. There's always, it's not just layering for layer's sake, it is a modulation of the emotion of the section, what these new layers bring to the table. Now, after this, we go into the bridge. And I thought this part was really interesting because we began to hear a lot of unique ideas. First of all, it's super syncopated and dynamic drum work. To me, this was a real drum. I don't think this was an electronic drum kit or like a sample library, because it sounds like a floor tom. And there is a drastic amount of variation in how hard or light each of these strikes are, with a lot of variation not just in volume but in attack. So it's a very playful, bouncy, emotive drum solo that does not feel to me as if it is a short section that has been recorded and continues to loop. It feels like the first sample that is actually a lengthy amount of time. Maybe there is a pattern to it, but it also sounds like it could be a single take drum solo, or the illusion of a single take. It doesn't necessarily need to have been recorded in a single take, but it's linear rather than loop based, like everything else is in the track. And that's it right there, isn't it? They took the loop based idea of creating electronic music, but instead of using electronic sounds in the loops, they use acoustic sounds in the loops, and that's exactly what it's doing. Man, it's kind of mind blowing. So yeah, we have this, and then there's a couple of instruments. I don't remember specifics, but there were sounds that came up in this section that really differentiated it from the verse and the chorus, which kind of shared ideas. Which is why when we go into the final chorus and it borrows ideas from the verse to play on top of it, and those are the new layers coming in, it doesn't feel out of place. There's very similar vibes there, very similar rhythms. So when we move into this bridge zone, we introduce new instruments, and instruments that I don't think come back in the final chorus. It's really, it's a nice break, right? Like I said, the verse and the chorus are different sections. They utilize different ideas in the first half of the song, but they're very similar in vibe and in tone and in rhythmic. So when we get into this section, and it almost feels like a break from what we've done. We saw these two ideas, but they were kind of two sides of the same coin. Now we have a new coin. That's a terrible analogy. But the bridge is fresh. It introduces some new ideas, both with the samples and also just rhythmically and timbre, right? We have new ideas coming in here that feel unique against both the previous ideas in the verse and the chorus. And then, like I said, we come into this final chorus, and it's what we've heard plus a little bit more, but it's the big bombastic part. And this is just, it's such a cool way to go about writing a song. I don't think I can, it just is, man. I'm going to be thinking about this this building block format for quite a while now. The last thing I want to talk about here isn't anything in super particular. It's just, well, actually, I guess it's the inverse. It is super particular, which I just want to express it. When he says trying to reach out and connect, or trying to connect with someone, something like that, something about connecting though, and he puts distortion on his voice. I'm not sure if that is natural compression or if it's digital, doesn't matter. The effect is that it feels, man, what's the word? It feels desperate. A lot of the song is sort of just a very comfortable singing where his natural voice is, and he just has a very comfortable, airy singing to it. But then he gets to the chorus, and it's a bit more bombastic. It's louder, there's more air pressure, and he gets to that final line and it cracks, right? We get this static in it, and it makes it sound more desperate. It almost feels like the rest of the song is true, but he's disguising his emotions, and this is where the emotions break through the facade. This is where it's no longer the words that are expressing, where he's no longer expressing himself purely through the words. He's expressing himself through his language, through his body language, the way that his voice sounds. And I think it's a really important part of the song. We see it also at the end when he does it, but I don't think it's as powerful then. I don't know if it's because we've already heard it, or maybe if it's less compressed. But I do think that having that right before the bridge section is huge because we get to finally see past this mask of his, and hear the sorrow and desperation in his voice, not just hearing the words of sorrow. And immediately from there, it's like he changes the topic completely. We go to this funky syncopated drum idea. We get away from the samples a little bit as far as that is concerned. We bring in new ideas. It's like, here, flashy things. Check all these other things out. You didn't hear me, really, you didn't hear me really express myself the way I wanted to or the way that I needed to. And then we get back to it, and the second time it seems like there's more effort to keep the vocals restrained. Almost like that it was an unintentional part of the story. So now that we're on the vocals, I'm going to dive into the lyrics for a second, and I'm going to see what this is all about. I have a guess, but I don't know all the lyrics, so we'll go check that out. All right, so I was pretty close. I think the chorus is a fantastic thesis statement for the entire. It's just put in the middle. I don't know what you would call that. It's directing the idea of the song very clearly. The chorus says, "Your heart's a mess. You won't admit to it. It makes no sense, but I'm desperate to connect, and you can't live like this." So it seems to be somebody who keeps the singer or narrator at arm's reach. He possibly wants to pursue something more romantic. There's a lot of words in here about the heart and love, and just it's a romantic song in a sense, about someone who does not return the love. It's unrequited. Um, and he says your heart's a mess and you won't admit it. So you're not ready to love, or you something along those lines, but you won't admit it to yourself, and it doesn't make any sense. But I'm desperate to connect. So this is him saying, I'm reaching out to you to say this. I want this relationship to be a thing, and I'm making it very blunt to you. He says, and you can't live like this. So I mean, it's oh man, it's kind of weird. Because it feels very, you don't know yourself very well, so let me tell you what you're feeling, and I'm going to tell you that you can't keep living like this, so maybe you should give me a chance. Feels kind of cringy. I don't like that. um, but like, even up top, it's the first verse. Pick apart your heart and let me peer inside. Let me in where only your thoughts have been. Let me occupy your mind as you do mine. So yeah, this person is like obsessed with this other person, and he wants this other person to be as obsessed with him as he is with them. And it's just, I mean, it's kind of bordering on stalkery stuff. Maybe I'm reading a bit too much into this, but yeah, I mean, it's very blatant. Verse 1, you're always on my mind, right? Verse 2 says, "You've lost too much love to fear, doubt, and distrust. It's not enough that you just threw away the key to your heart. You don't get burned because nothing gets through. It makes it easier for you, but more difficult for me." Yeah, so this is a person who has basically been through a lot of upset with romance and just doesn't engage in relationships anymore. But this other person is desperately obsessed with them. And I mean, it says it makes it easier on you and more difficult for me. It's very self centered, right? I mean, I would say that shutting off your heart to emotion or to love is not the best way to go about living life. But I mean, if that's what this person has to do to, preserve their emotional and mental health, I mean, who is this guy to say that you're making my life difficult? I'm trying my best to view it from like the romantic perspective, but it's also just really stalkery. And then the outro is a repetition of this idea. Love ain't safe and you won't get hurt if you stay chaste, so you can wait, but I don't want to waste my love. So he basically says, you can keep hiding behind your wall and be protected from the dangers of love, but I got a life to live, so I'm going to move on from you, which is the healthiest thing I've seen in this entire song. Um, but yeah, like 100%, we a lot of this song is that cool, suave kind of breathy, very low effort sounding singing, saying, "Hey, you should give me a chance. I know love hasn't been your deal, but I promise that I'll be better, right? I'll be better than those other people." But then in the chorus, it's very you can see the crack when he says, "But I'm desperate to connect." It's the first time I think that we've heard him talk about himself. Everything else has been about this other person. This is the first time that hasn't been selfish, because there is one other time it says, "You being protective of your heart makes life difficult for me." That I think is just it's a very selfish sentence. But this is the first time that I think we can actually see through these cracks. It says, "I'm desperate to connect," and the voice cracks, right? And we got the compression in there, and this is like their self poking through this facade, this charm that they're trying to put on. And as soon as that happens, instrumental interlude with new ideas. Like I said, flashy things. Don't ignore what you just heard. Look at this. Look at this. Look at that. And then it goes back, and the bridge and the chorus are a repetition. That's just two choruses, man. That is not a bridge. It repeats the chorus twice, and then we have the outro where he says, "I'm just going to move on." So yeah, I think it's a very surface level read, and it matches up with some of the ideas that are going on vocally. Now musically, I like the escalating elements, but I don't really see what it has to do with here. Do with what the lyrics that I'm reading here. It feels like just the song and the lyrics were written separately. Maybe there was a general beat or phrasing element that was created, and then the lyrics were put to that, and then a songwriter or producer put the song around that. And I think it all works together. But aside from that first chorus into the interlude, I don't really see anything here that strikes me as being interconnected. I mean, not to mention the fact that the whole song is about. I mean, we got these neat little building blocks, and I was thinking maybe they're like building up the wall, but that would be from the perspective of the love interest, not from the narrator. So that kind of doesn't make sense. And it's not like these other elements, these other instruments that come in with the slow burn drown out the vocals, because that could have been a neat way to introduce this theme of trying to get through to somebody emotionally, and the wall around their heart metaphorically blocking out the words. But no, that didn't happen. It's a pop song. The vocals need to be front and center at all times. So yeah, I mean, to me, I talked about this earlier this week. It's not a bad thing for the musical themes and the lyrical themes to not line up. That's actually pretty standard. I think it'd be difficult for any band to line those ideas up constantly. Um, but I think this is just a song that the music and the lyrics are vastly separated. Um, it just That chorus going into the bridge though cracks me up. I doubt it was intentional, but that's how I heard it. It finally, the facade finally breaks, and with no time at all, it's like, look at these new things. We got new instruments here. They're not going to come back later, but don't pay attention to my true self poking out. I don't know. The whole song kind of comes off to me as nice guy material, and I don't know, kind of ruined it because I love the idea here and the sections and the way all the instruments come together. It is a beautiful song, but man, like I said, I think there is a way to view this not so cringy, but that is not how the lyrics come off to me. I don't know. Let me know. Am I reading this the wrong way? Or are you kind of getting the same vibe with these lyrics? Hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you think. Also, what is your take on the building block idea? I think it's fascinating, but maybe it's not as cool as, maybe I'm really chalking it up to something that it's not. Let me know your thoughts on that as well. Above the comment section, there's a description box, and there's a link for Linktree. Take you to this place right here. It's a fantastic resource for everything related to the channel. You can pick up some merch, join the Patreon, and vote on future themes and songs. You can follow me on Twitter. You can join the Discord community. I'm very active in it. If you'd like to ever hit me up, I'm there like every day. If I'm not sleeping, I'm on Discord. And there's like email and like Bandcamp, and there's just a bunch of stuff. Go ahead and check it out. Above that, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I'd greatly appreciate all three of those. We have one more video coming out today. It actually released 11 minutes. I gotta stop that, man. It used to be like there'll be another one in 10 minutes, another one in 5 minutes. Make sure you check out for that one. And now every time it's like another video has already been released. Anyways, there's another video out right now. It's the special selection for today. It's a band called Mouse on the Keys. That sounds like fun. You can check that out if you want. Otherwise, I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC, 9 p.m. UTC. We'll be looking at more music. All right, until next time, remember to be critical but not cynical of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.